there are only two types of people in this world, and has nothing to do with rich or poor, educated or uneducated, black or white, male or female. The first type of person has learned to make their mind their servant. The second type of person has become a slave to their own thoughts. The difference between these two groups determines everything. Who gets promoted and who gets passed over. Who builds wealth and who stays broke. Who has great relationships and who dies lonely. Who lives with purpose and who wastes their potential. Most people spend more time training their bodies at the gym than they spend training their minds for success. They will pay thousands of dollars for a college education but never invest 1 hour learning how to control their thoughts. They will see a therapist to understand their problems but never learn the skills to solve them. Right now, at this very moment, there is a war happening inside your head. Two voices are fighting for control of your destiny. One voice whispers words of possibility, strength, and victory. The other screams fear, doubt, and defeat. The voice that wins this battle will determine whether you live a life of triumph or tragedy. I want to tell you about Captain Thompson, a commercial airline pilot with over 20 years of experience. One stormy night, flying through turbulence so violent that passengers were crying and praying, Captain Thompson faced a moment that would save everyone on board. His instruments told him to turn left, but his feelings screamed, turn right. The storm was so intense that his natural instincts were completely confused. He could not trust what his body was telling him. Everything inside him felt wrong about following the instruments. But Captain Thompson had been trained for this exact moment. He had learned that in the darkness of the storm, when you cannot see clearly, when your emotions are screaming, when fear is trying to take control, you must trust your instruments over your feelings, and safely landed that plane with 200 souls on board. Your mind works the same way. Every day, you face storms in your life. Every day, your emotions try to guide you in the wrong direction. Every day, you must choose which voice to follow. The untrained mind will always choose fear. The untrained mind will always choose the path of least resistance. The untrained mind will always convince you to stay where you are, even if where you are is killing your dream. There are two kinds of people in this world: those who have trained their minds to be their greatest ally, and those who have allowed their minds to become their worst enemy. The difference between these two groups is not talent, education, or background. The difference is who controls the conversation happening inside their heads. Let me tell you about Maria Santos. 5 years ago, Maria was cleaning offices at night to support her 3 children. Every morning, she would look in the mirror and hear that voice of defeat telling her, "This is all you will ever be. You are just a cleaning lady. You do not have education. You do not have connections. You do not have money. This is your life." For months, that voice controlled her action. She would go to work, clean offices, come home exhausted, and repeat the same routine day after day. But something changed the night Maria found herself cleaning the office of a successful businesswoman. On the desk was a book about entrepreneurship. As Maria dusted around it, she opened the book and read one sentence that transformed her life. The only difference between where you are and where you want to be is the story you tell yourself about what is possible. That night, Maria made a decision. She decided to change the conversation in her head. Instead of listening to the voice that said, "You are just a cleaning lady," she began speaking to herself differently. "You are Maria Santos, and you are learning business while you clean these offices. You are Maria Santos, and you are studying these successful people while you work. You are Maria Santos, and you are building something bigger every day." Maria would arrive at work 30 minutes early to read business books she found in the offices. Every day she would tell herself, I am not just cleaning, I am learning, I am growing, I am preparing for my own business. The voice of possibility began to grow stronger than the voice of limitation. Today, Maria owns a cleaning company with 47 employees. She drives a car that costs more than she used to make in 2 years. Her children attend private schools. But the most amazing thing about Maria's transformation was not the money or the success. The most amazing thing was that she became a different person the moment she changed the conversation in her mind. You see, your mind is like a radio that picks up different stations. One station broadcasts fear, doubt, worry, and defeat. Another station broadcasts confidence, possibility, vision, and victory. Most people have their mental radio tuned to the fear station 24 hours a day. They wake up listening to worry, they go to work listening to doubt, they come home listening to defeat, they go to bed listening to fear about tomorrow. But here's what you must understand. You control the dial. You choose which station plays in your mind. You choose which voice gets the microphone. You choose which thoughts get your attention and which thoughts get ignored. Scientists have discovered that your brain creates new neural pathways every time you think a thought. When you think the same thought repeatedly, that pathway becomes stronger, like a trail in the forest that becomes a road when many people walk on it. If you have been thinking defeated thoughts for years, you have built superhighways of defeat in your mind. If you have been thinking worried thoughts for years, you have constructed superhighways of worry. But here is the amazing news. You can build new pathways. You can create new mental highways. You can redirect the traffic in your mind. It takes practice. It takes discipline. It takes consistency. But it is absolutely possible. The tragic truth is that most people live their entire lives as prisoners of their own thinking. They have ability, but their mind tells them they are incapable. They have opportunity, but their mind tells them it is impossible. They have potential, but their mind tells them they are not enough. Your mind can be the reason you succeed or the reason you fail. Your mind can be the force that pushes you toward your dreams or the force that keeps you trapped in mediocrity. Your mind can be your greatest friend or your worst enemy. The choice is yours, and you must make that choice every single day. The battle for your future is not fought in the marketplace. It is not fought in the boardroom. It is not fought in the classroom. The battle for your future is fought in the battlefield of your mind. And the winner of that battle will determine everything. And now I want you to understand something critical about this enemy living inside your head. This enemy is not some outside force trying to destroy you. This enemy knows you better than anyone else knows you. This enemy knows your weaknesses, your fears, your past failures, your secret doubts. This enemy uses your own voice to speak to you. This enemy is the master of disguise, and it has convinced millions of people that its voice is their own voice. Let me tell you about Robert Martinez, one of the most talented guitarists I have ever heard. Robert could make that guitar sing like angels and cry like babies. When he played, people would stop whatever they were doing just to listen. Record labels were calling. Managers were interested. His big break was just one phone call away. But Robert had an enemy living in his mind that was working overtime to destroy his future. Every time opportunity knocked, that enemy would start whispering, Robert, you are not good enough for the big stage. Look at all those other musicians who are better than you. Remember when you messed up that chord progression last month? Remember when that music teacher said you would never make it professionally? You are about to embarrass yourself in front of the whole world. The closer Robert got to success, the louder that enemy became. Finally, the day before his biggest audition, the enemy won. Robert called and canceled. He told him he was sick. But the truth was, his mind had made him sick with fear. Today, Robert still plays guitar, but only in his garage, only for himself, only wondering what could have been. Your mind is a master at creating evidence to support your fears. It will take one small failure from 10 years ago and present it as proof that you cannot succeed today. It will take one person's opinion about you and turn it into absolute truth about your abilities. It will take one moment of embarrassment and convince you that everyone is still laughing at you. This enemy in your mind loves your comfort zone more than you do. It will fight to keep you exactly where you are, even if where you are is slowly killing your spirit. Why? Because the mind prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar growth. The mind prefers known misery over unknown possibility. The mind would rather keep you safe and small than risk letting you become great and face potential failure. Your mental enemy has perfected the art of time travel. It takes you back to past failures and makes them feel like they happened yesterday. It takes you forward to future disasters that exist only in your imagination and makes them feel like guaranteed reality. It steals your present moment by keeping you trapped between yesterday's regrets and tomorrow's fears. This enemy has studied your social media habits. It knows how to use other people's highlight reels to make you feel like a failure. It shows you everyone else's success and convinces you that you are the only one struggling. It takes other people's achievements and turns them into weapons against your self-confidence. It whispers, "Look how well they are doing. Look how far behind you are. Look how much better they are than you." The most dangerous weapon this enemy uses is your own voice. It does not sound like some strange, foreign voice. It sounds exactly like you talking to yourself. It has learned to imitate your tone, your reasoning, your concerns. When it speaks, you think those thoughts are your own thoughts. When it creates doubt, you think that doubt is wisdom. When it generates fear, you think that fear is protection. This mental enemy turns every small setback into proof of permanent failure. It takes every no you receive and transforms it into evidence that you should stop trying. It takes every closed door and convinces you that all doors are closed to you. It takes every delay in your progress and turns it into proof that progress is impossible for you. The cost of letting this enemy win is enormous. Dreams die in the graveyard of defeated minds. Relationships are destroyed by the poison of negative thinking. Potential is buried under mountains of mental garbage. Opportunities are missed because the mind convinces you that you are not ready, not worthy, not capable. This enemy has convinced some of the most talented people in the world to live lives far below their potential. It has turned natural-born leaders into followers. It has transformed creative geniuses into people who believe they have no gifts. It has taken people destined for greatness and convinced them to settle for average. But here's what this enemy does not want you to know. It only has the power you give it. It can only control you if you listen to it. It can only defeat you if you believe its lies. The moment you recognize this enemy for what it really is, the moment you understand its tactics, the moment you refuse to let it speak for you, that is the moment you begin to take back control of your life. Now let me tell you about a man named James Thompson, who discovered the secret of transforming his greatest enemy into his most powerful friend. 3 years ago, James was living under a bridge in downtown Detroit. He had lost his job, his home, his family, and his hope. Every morning he would wake up and that familiar voice would start its daily assault. James, you are worthless. Look where you ended up. You are a failure. You will never amount to anything. You might as well give up. But one cold morning, something extraordinary happened. As James sat there listening to that voice of defeat, he suddenly realized something that changed everything. He said to himself, wait a minute. Who is actually talking right now? That voice sounds like me. But I did not choose to think those thoughts. I did not decide to feel this way. Someone else is controlling the conversation. In my head, that was the moment James discovered the power of conscious thought selection. He realized that just because a thought appeared in his mind did not mean he had to accept it, believe it, or act on it. He learned that he could observe his thoughts like a security guard watching monitors, deciding which thoughts deserved his attention and which thoughts needed to be escorted out immediately. James began practicing what I call mental hygiene. Just like you brush your teeth every morning to prevent decay, James started cleaning his mental house every morning to prevent the buildup of toxic thinking. The moment a negative thought tried to enter his mind, he would stop and ask himself 3 questions. Is this thought helping me or hurting me? Is this thought moving me toward my goals or away from them? Is this thought based on truth or fear? If the thought failed any of those tests, James would immediately replace it with a thought that served his future instead of his past. When his mind said, you are homeless, James would respond, I am temporarily without a house, but I am building my comeback. When his mind said, you are a failure, James would respond, I am a success in progress, learning from every experience. James discovered that your mind is like a garden. If you plant nothing, weeds will grow automatically. But if you deliberately plant seeds of positive thoughts and water them with consistent attention, they will grow stronger than any weed. He started feeding his mind different information. Instead of focusing on news that made him angry, he read books about people who overcame impossible situations. Instead of talking to people who complained about life, he found people who were building something better for themselves. Every morning, James would spend 10 minutes programming his mind for success. He would repeat powerful statements that rewired his thinking. I am James Thompson, and I have the power to create my own reality. I am James Thompson, and every setback is setting me up for a comeback. I am James Thompson, and I refuse to let temporary circumstances determine my permanent destiny. But James did not stop at positive thinking. He combined his new mental programming with visualization that created results. Every night before sleeping, he would see himself in his mind living the life he wanted to create. He would see himself in a nice apartment, wearing good clothes, helping other people who were where he used to be. He would feel the emotions of success before success arrived. He would experience gratitude for victories that had not yet happened. The most powerful tool James used was turning his biggest fear into his greatest strength. His fear of being homeless again became his motivation to work harder than anyone else. His fear of failure became his fuel to prepare more thoroughly than his competition. His fear of judgment became his courage to take risks that others would not take. Today, James owns 2 businesses and speaks to audiences about transformation. But the real miracle was not what happened to his bank account. The real miracle was what happened to his mind. A transformation is not a one-time event. It is a daily discipline. It is a war that must be won every single morning before your feet hit the floor. The moment you open your eyes, the battle begins. Your mind will either serve your dreams or sabotage them. And that decision happens in the first 30 minutes of your day. James taught me something profound about morning rituals. He said, the first voice that speaks to you in the morning will set the tone for everything that follows. Most people wake up and immediately check their phones, filling their minds with other people's problems, other people's opinions, other people's emergencies. They start their day as slaves to information that makes them anxious, angry, or afraid. But champions of the mind have learned to control the first conversation of each day. Before checking any messages, before talking to anyone else, before letting the world invade their thoughts, they spend time programming their minds for victory. They feed their minds with words of strength, vision, and possibility. They remind themselves who they are becoming, not who they used to be when failure comes knocking at your door. And it will come knocking. You must have a strategy ready. Most people use failure as evidence that they should quit. But mental warriors use failure as fuel for their next attempt. They ask different questions when things go wrong. Instead of, why does this always happen to me? They ask, what is this teaching me? Instead of, why am I so unlucky? They ask, how can I use this experience to become stronger? The technique of mental rehearsal will change your life if you practice it consistently. Before you walk into that important meeting, see yourself succeeding in your mind first. Before you have that difficult conversation, practice it mentally until you feel confident. Before you take that risk, rehearse your success until fear loses its power over you. Your mind cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real experience. When you rehearse success mentally, you are literally programming your brain for victory. But here is something most people never consider. You become like the voices you listen to most often. If you spend your time with people who complain, you will become a complainer. If you surround yourself with people who make excuses, you will become an excuse maker. If you listen to people who talk about limitations, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions you ask yourself. Poor questions create poor results. Powerful questions create powerful results. Instead of asking, why is this so hard? Ask, how can I make this easier? Instead of asking, why do not I have what I want? Ask, what do I need to learn to get what I want? Instead of asking, why me? Ask, what is the opportunity hidden in this challenge? We create mental anchors for the moments when doubt tries to take control. Remember specific times when you succeeded against the odds. Remember moments when you felt unstoppable. Remember the feeling of overcoming something you thought was impossible. When fear starts speaking, replay those victories in your mind until confidence returns. Gratitude is your secret weapon against negative thinking. A grateful mind cannot be a defeated mind at the same time. When you focus on what you have instead of what you lack, when you appreciate your progress instead of criticizing your pace, when you celebrate small victories instead of dwelling on temporary setbacks, you are rewiring your brain for success. Your biggest fears are hiding your greatest strengths. The thing you are most afraid of doing is probably the thing that will set you free. Let me tell you about Lisa Williams, a woman who proves that it is never too late to take control of your mind and transform your entire existence. For 37 years, Lisa lived as a prisoner of her own thoughts. Depression had been a constant companion since she was a teenager. Every morning, she would wake up feeling like she was carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. That voice in her head had convinced her that sadness was her natural state, that happiness was for other people, that she was broken beyond repair. Lisa had tried everything the world offered. She had taken medications that made her feel numb. She had gone to therapists who helped understand her problems, but could not help her overcome them. She had read self-help books that made her feel good for a few days before the darkness returned. She had attended support groups where everyone shared their pain, but nobody seemed to find lasting victory. By age 42, Lisa had accepted defeat. She had decided that some people are just meant to struggle, and she was one of them. She had made peace with living a life of quiet desperation. But something happened on a Tuesday morning that changed everything. Lisa was sitting in her car before work, crying for no reason she could explain, when she heard herself say out loud, "I am so tired of feeling this way." In that moment, something clicked. She realized that for 37 years, she had been a passive victim of her own thoughts. She had never considered that she could be an active participant in what happened inside her head. She had never realized that she could choose which thoughts deserved her attention and which thoughts deserved to be rejected. Lisa made a decision that day that scared her more than staying depressed. She decided to fight for her own mind. She decided to become the author of her own thoughts instead of the victim of them. She decided to take responsibility for her mental health instead of waiting for someone else to fix her. The first thing Lisa did was establish what she called her thought checkpoint. Every time a negative thought tried to enter her mind, she would stop and ask herself, is this thought making me stronger or weaker? Is this thought moving me toward the person I want to become or away from her? If the thought failed the test, she would immediately replace it with a thought that served her future. Lisa began treating her mind like a garden that needed daily attention. She stopped feeding it poison through negative news, toxic social media, and conversations with people who love to complain. Instead, she started feeding it nutrients through books that inspired her, music that lifted her spirit, and conversations with people who were building something positive in their lives. Every morning, Lisa would spend 15 minutes reprogramming her mind. She would speak to herself with the same love and encouragement she would give to her best friend. She would remind herself of her strength, her progress, and her potential. She would visualize herself living with joy, confidence, and purpose. But the most powerful change Lisa made was learning to use her past pain as fuel for her future purpose. Instead of seeing her decades of depression as wasted years, she began to see them as training that prepared her to help other people who were fighting the same battle. Instead of hiding her struggle, she began sharing her struggle with others who needed hope. The transformation did not happen overnight. Some days were harder than others. Some days the old thoughts would come back with a vengeance, trying to reclaim their territory in her mind. But Lisa had learned something that changed everything. She did not have to win the battle perfectly every day. She just had to win it more often than she lost it today, 6 years later. Lisa runs a nonprofit organization that helps people overcome depression and anxiety. She has spoken to thousands of people about mental transformation. She has a joy in her eyes that radiates to everyone she meets. But the most amazing thing about Lisa's story is not what she accomplished. The most amazing thing is who she became. When your mind becomes your friend instead of your enemy, everything in your life changes. Your relationships improve because you stop projecting your internal pain onto other people. Your work becomes more fulfilling because you approach it with confidence instead of fear. Your dreams become achievable because you believe in your ability to make them reality. The people around you will notice the change before you do. They will see a light in your eyes that was not there before. They will hear strength in your voice that surprises them. They will feel peace in your presence that makes them want to spend more time with you. Your transformed mind will impact every person you encounter. But here is the responsibility that comes with mental mastery. Once you learn how to control your thoughts, you can never again claim to be a victim of your circumstances. Once you understand that you have the power to choose your response to everything that happens to you, you become accountable for the quality of your life. Your mind is the key that unlocks every door you want to open. Your mind is the foundation upon which every dream is built. Your mind is the starting point of every success and the ending point of every failure. The quality of your mind determines the quality of your life. The battle for your future is happening right now, inside your head. The voice that wins this battle will determine whether you live as a champion or a victim, whether you die with your music still inside you, or whether you share your gifts with the world. The choice is yours. The power is in your hands. The time is now. Your mind can be your best friend or your worst enemy. Which will you choose?